Welcome to Tower Talk Business Radio, where we bring you conversations with the top business minds on Long Island and around the nation every week. Featuring expert consultants and small business owners who have found success but are also willing to share their top tips, failures, and give gritty, matter-of-fact advice based on their firsthand experience. Now, let's get down to business on Tower Talk Business Radio on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Hello, and welcome to Tower Talk Business Radio. My name is Ray Schwetz, AVP of Business Banking at Jovia Financial Credit Union, along with Denisha Boston Hill, CEO, keeper of the brand, marketing, and digital agency.
We're focused on being the premier resource for business and entrepreneurship. We bring you weekly business advice, tips, tools, and services that help you grow your business. Plus, we interview some of the top business leaders in the industry.
Now, these folks these days are very concerned over risk management and data security. Technology is evolving daily. The game changes hourly, and bad actors always seem to be ahead of the curve. So it's more important than ever to have someone on your side who's an expert. And very excited today because we happen to have one. Helping provide us with some clarity around this issue is Joseph Saracino. He is the president and CEO of Cino Limited Companies, including Cino Solutions, a trusted cybersecurity advisor and service provider. Joe, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, we're very excited. Joe has a very, very cool background. When I was talking with him for the first time, we had a nice conversation, and I felt like I was talking with like a CIA operative. It was so cool.
So we were chatting a little bit behind the scenes.
Yes.
And I thought about Meet the Fockers, like Robert De Niro. That was the vibe I was getting when he was chatting with me. So
I can see that too.
Totally see what you're saying.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So, Joe, why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself and your really kind of cool and secretive military background?
Oh boy, so it's that's a hard.
I'm building you up.
I know to follow up. But first of all, thanks for having me. I'm homegrown. I grew up in Belmore, went to JFK High School in Belmore, graduated there, came here to Nassau Community College and took a few courses, and then I moved on to Adelphi University, finished my degrees, and then I was commissioned in the United States Naval Intelligence Corps for quite some time, and then went on from there to develop the two organizations. So I'm kind of proud of that, and it's been a long road, interesting to say the least.
And it's pretty cool, though. We also discussed how kind of technology changed and how the work that he did has evolved so much over the years. Now, can you tell us about some of your military operations and like how things worked? You know, for example, like we were talking about, how you examined photographs to see what was going on. I just found that stuff really fascinating.
And for everyone out there, he's kind of like thinking, what could he tell us that's not like confidential? It will break his clearance here.
Without betraying.
Yeah,
that.
so I as an analyst and basically I started as a photo analyst. So you're analyzing photographs, and you basically have the photograph, you have the data, you make sense of it. And that's basically one of the parts. But there are many other parts to it as well. It's just not doing the analytic work, although that's a big component. The big key is that you get to visit many places. I did attaché work, and that was going out on my own, going to different commands, going to different stations, meeting a variety of different people from the European theater all the way out to Agnano, Italy, all the way down to Jadif, which is Key West, Florida. So there was a lot in between. And you talk about things changing all the time. It certainly changed. So I think that was the skill set that I have that I bring here. As a risk manager, you're always looking to analyze the changes. And then how do you make sense of it? And then how do you bring it out and simplify it so people can understand? And I think that's where we're at today. But anything else I can tell you, I can't because then, the old adage is that then I would have to kill you. So that's it. But I don't know if I can say that or not.
So as you're speaking, I'm seeing you, back in your day, looking at a photo with a magnifying glass. And now you fast forward to these times where CSI has like all the photos and all the faces, flipping through. And then, I found something.
Yeah, that's basically what it is. I mean, you get to the point where you're actually feathering, and this is back in the day, like you said, you're feathering photographs and kind of mapping it all together. And then you're analyzing it, let's say a particular territory, a landscape. So you could look at the changes that were going on at the time. The key here is that has not changed so much. Now it's all digital. So we get real-time imagery. We can look at movement in real time. So technology has changed the dynamic immensely. So, but was very rewarding, and I learned a lot going along the way. So
I see the smile on your face. I get the feeling that you really enjoyed your career in the military, which brought us to today, right? And so, can you share with the layman out there, like, what is cybersecurity and why do you love it? Why do you have a passion for this?
Well, first of all, you're right. You get to see the smile on my face, and I know your audience doesn't get that. And I'm Italian, so they're probably only going to get half of my conversation because I talk with my hands.
Picture hands waving around.
Yeah, that's it. So I'm waving my hands. But the bottom line is cybersecurity. Let's just take that word for a second, all right? And let's get really simple. It's two words, cyber and security. Now, what's cyber? Most people think, that it's about computers, and they're correct. And what do computers do? They hold data. They process data. And data is a valuable information that a lot of bad actors and some good actors want to get a hold of. Mm-hmm. And you may not want them to get a hold of it. What's security? Well, it's securing that data. And there you have it. So, and protecting that data. So there you have it. That's cybersecurity. That's as simple as we can get it. And everybody looked at that and looks at what they're holding in their hand, like their phone, like their laptop. That's a lot of power that you have in your hand and a lot of data. And it can be vulnerable. And those are the things that we have to address, because the bottom line is that if you don't protect that data, it's going to be out in the field, and it may be used not in the way you want it to be used. Now, we are a society that has been giving up our data for over a decade. All of our social media. How many times have you seen people travel? I'm on vacation. This is what I'm eating today. Tons and tons of pictures, tons of scenarios, but freely giving it up. And that was the way that everyone communicated. So now you have to kind of reel that in. And that's sometimes tough. When the cat is out of the bag, it's kind of tough to get it back in. But that's what we have to do today. So.
And there's so much focus on this. We have a major here at Nass Community College for cybersecurity now as well. And it's
great.
It's being recognized everywhere as it's really an avenue that's got to be explored. Now, I'm sure there's a lot of misconceptions about the work that you do in risk management. Can you talk a little bit about the work that you're doing in risk management and what some people think it might be and what it actually is?
Well, first of all, it's about the analytics. Mm-hmm. So in order to manage risk, first of all, you have to identify what the risks are. Mm-hmm. Right? And another misconception, basically, can't say it's a misconception, but people really need to understand that it is not someone else's job to be managing that risk. It is everyone's responsibility. Everyone has to take a role. We call it the cyber battlefield, right? So if you're on the cyber battlefield, you have to be at the ready. You have to be prepared, and you have to participate. So you can't let that run past you. Otherwise, have to look at trying to catch up, and that's a challenge. So, but for us, looking at risk, we analyze. So we will go into one of our clients and do testing, penetration testing. We will look at a vulnerability assessment. We will provide that data. We will give them an opportunity, at least the client, the opportunity to prioritize what the risks are, so then they can manage that. Because you can't manage a risk if you don't know what it is, and that's what we do. So, and it's about education too. One of the major things is educate. Without that, you're in the dark. So we're educators. So we're training. We talk about the military, but we train the NSA. We train the DIA, FBI. So we're out producing training material for them. So
that's a lot of impressive letters. You are listening to Tara Talk Business Radio on the Voice of National Media College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm Ray Schwetz, along with Denisha Boston Hill, and our guest today is Joseph Saracino. He's the president and CEO of Cino Limited Companies, including Cino Solutions, a trusted cybersecurity advisor and service provider. Can you talk with us a little bit about when companies find you or how companies find you? Because I'm wondering, how do you connect with companies? And is it that they're calling you when there's a problem, or is it that they're calling you proactively? Kind of how does that work?
Well, it's kind of changed. It's a great question because the DNA of that has changed over time, where we were out, trying to educate, going out, presenting, letting people know what was on the horizon, the threat levels that were on the horizon. And most people thought that they would, if they had a problem, they would call us, so we would go and do all of the forensics work. But that wasn't the case. The case is the fact that you have to be proactive. There are three parts to a breach, right? There's the proactivity, which is all of the testing, all of the education, getting at the ready, practicing, being proactive, doing all of the due diligence, and it's daily. Then there's the breach. So what happens then? So if you come to your computer and at your day of work and you're looking at your screen and you see some funny figure jumping up and down saying, "Ha, I got you. You now owe me, if you want to get your data back, because we just locked it all down, $50,000, and this is the way to pay it. And you've got about 3 days and 4 hours and 18 minutes. What do you do?" So that's during the breach part, and a lot of folks basically they don't know what to do. Call their IT folks and those types of things. But there is a protocol to that. And then there's the post-breach. So what happens after the dust settles? Who do you report to as far as compliance? Do you have an agency that you have to report the breach to, depending upon how intense that breach was? So there are a lot of things that go through the process, but it's basically about the education and being prepared. So people back would call us to put out the fire, but now that's changing because they want to be proactive. They want to know about the education. They want to know what's on the horizon, and we keep it simple. We were very technical when we presented. Back in the day, we would talk about attack vectors and how hackers were getting into your system, the ports that were open, and on a 45-minute presentation, we probably lost most in about 15 seconds in because they didn't understand any of it. So we went through a learning curve, and basically we got a message out that you have to be proactive, that you have to look at each section of, let's say, the breach cycle, because it's not a matter of if. You've probably heard this expression. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. you're going to be breached. So you better be prepared. That's what we're looking at. So basically, it has changed over time. We've gotten very simple and the way we prepare our presentations, so people can understand it. And that's been a challenge for us, actually. People really understanding what's going on out in the field. I mean, you're doing your day-to-day business, right? Everybody's they go to work. If they're doing accounting, if they're doing retail, whatever they're doing, they're not thinking about cybersecurity. But here is where you have to take some time and really think about it. You don't have to spend a whole day in every single day, but take a little time to learn and be on top of that so you can see what's on the horizon and you can address it because you want to be involved.
Yeah.
In my mind, all I keep hearing is, don't be Ashley Madison.
That's exactly right. Exactly.
Don't be Ashley Madison.
Well, you shouldn't be on Ashley Madison anyway.
Well,
no.
But that was a major cybersecurity case, and then it turned out to be someone who worked there.
Yeah.
It's the things that you don't do, the pre-breach, change your passwords when the employees leave. All those preempted methods that we don't even think about.
No.
Right? You shut down the email, they leave, and that's it. But they have access.
Yeah, and that's the key. So sometimes you just have to take a step back, take a breath, and then evaluate. And here where you get into the analytics. So you need to analyze your environment. You need to know what's in your environment too. We've gone out and we've done analytics on or a vulnerability assessment on many companies. One in particular had a breach, and they couldn't figure out how that happened. So we came in, we brought our forensics teams in, and we found that there was a legacy printer that was down in the basement that wasn't updated. It just was sitting there. It was plugged in, and there was a vulnerability. It wasn't updated, so those vulnerabilities were there. And look, hackers are not somebody who's down in the basement with a hood on. Everybody thinks that's it. If you got a hoodie and you're down in the basement, you're a hacker. That's not true. This is big business today. So you have to look at the sophistication. They're smart as a whip. People are smart. They want to get that data because it's all about money. Billions of dollars every year that is basically hacked. So it's a big business. But the bottom line is that one little printer caused a tremendous amount of pain for that organization because it wasn't updated and it was forgotten. So you have to really look at your assets all the time.
Yeah. One of the things that Jovia does, and I like this a lot, you go back to the education piece, they're consistently doing like phishing tests. So you're involving actively all of the staff so that they're aware, okay, this is something that I should have always on my radar. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's great. I'm sure there are other best practices from a proactive standpoint that, companies can and individuals can employ. Mm-hmm. So what are some of the best practices that you would advise folks to do?
Well, obviously, you probably have heard, strong passwords, good antivirus software. Education is education. And here's a best practice. Have a cyber security attitude, because if you are aware, then you're able to reprogram your brain to address what you're holding, what devices you're holding. Also, look at it as an individual. Cybersecurity, everybody thinks it's an organizational umbrella, but it's not. It's an individual umbrella. So you do what you do at your organization. You bring that home with you. Or better yet, flip it. Start at home. Look at all your devices. Look at your laptop. Look at your mobile devices. Look at the power it has. If you start to look at the exposure you would have by utilizing those devices, then you can take that mindset into your organization. You have a head start. Most people don't do cybersecurity awareness training at home. They normally do it in their organization. They'll do phishing exam tests, and those learning processes are things that you need to take home with you as well. So if you look at it that way, then you're blending it all together.
It's kind of overwhelming sometimes. I think you're right. It is very individual because if you think about it, we're individually being attacked. That's the easiest way for someone to get in is to get through an employee who doesn't recognize that it's an attack into the system. But it's also something where you got to it's kind of like a mechanic. When you find a mechanic you trust, you kind of go back to that person. Mm-hmm. It's very hard. There's a lot of folks out there who claim to be like experts in this field. Some of it is like boxed, pre-baked stuff. Some of it is experiential. How do you know like who to go to? And for you, I mean, obviously you have a great background, so you're someone that I would consider a leader in the field. How do you set yourself apart from those folks who really are not the best people to go to?
Well, look, there's a lot of people who are trying to get in. I mean, it's a learning curve all across the board. We have a lot of experience. A lot of depth in our experience. A lot of our folks are from the military thread, the military veterans. They've had experience with real-time scenarios, so we bring that to the table. Mm-hmm. We have decades of business experience, so it becomes a business solution. We look at what businesses are up against, and then we can blend it together. So we have that experience. We also take an approach of hand-holding as well. So we get the fact, because we've learned through it, we've learned the fact that people don't get it. It's not part of their DNA. So you have to hand-hold people so they can really pick up what needs to be done. And in just a little bit helps a long way. So I think that's what it is. And the fact that we love people, and we love to see the light bulbs go on. And that's so rewarding, because when people really get it and they can spit it back at you, you're saying, wow, they got it. It was awesome. So they're better prepared when they're in what we call, again, the cyber battlefield. So everyone's in it, and everyone's playing a part. And hopefully with what we do, we play, a little part in this big area, but a little bit goes a long way.
Absolutely. You are listening to Tower Talk Business Radio. Our guest today is Joseph Saracino, President and CEO of Cino Limited Companies. My name is Tanisha Boston Hill, along with Ray Schwartz, on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
So when you talk about some of the concerns that are out there, obviously, again, this is evolving daily, hourly. But what are the biggest concerns that you see with regards to securing data, and what some of the biggest threats that are looming, and how are you advising folks or businesses to deal with this? Well,
again, what's looming, what's coming here in 2024, and here we are, right? 2024, we always look at the horizons as threats. I would do a threat level assessment presentation, and for quite some time was always ransomware, and ransomware was up on the top of the scale. And phishing, obviously everybody had to be aware of all of the phishing attacks, and I'm sure you have seen a huge upscale in phishing. You're probably getting hit with emails at a tremendous rate. You are getting hit with text messages. You are getting hit with phone calls, and don't answer the phone if you don't know it, and don't talk back to the voice. Just a word of caution. So it's interesting, but
I'd like you to kind of expand on that a little bit, because I know why you're saying that.
Well, because I'm going to get to the AI section in a second, because that's what's on the horizon. Yeah. And so when scammers try everything that they can, one of the things that they'll create a message to you via a phone call, and they'll record those answers and utilize those answers to possibly scam you. And that's what's been going on today. Text messaging. If you don't know where that text is coming from, or it doesn't feel right, and that's the big key. In today's day and age, if things don't feel right, go with your guts. Stop, look, listen, analyze, and make that vetting call. If somebody sends you an email, let's say your CFO sends an email to transfer funds somewhere, it may look very, very real, But if something goes up and saying, well, why is that happening right now? I wasn't aware of this. Or let me just prove this out and make the call and saying, did you send me that email? And thereby, you may be right. And maybe someone did, but maybe not so. And you would then escape the pain. So that's a big, big key. AI is the piece that's on the horizon. And it's been around for a long, long time. And back since the 50s. And I'll give you an example. Actually, I was in the Pentagon years ago, and there was the two brainiacs. They had gray matter coming out of their ears. I mean, these guys were so smart, it was crazy. And it was a small little room, but they were working on artificial intelligence, and they were giving me a brief on it. Well, I came away with not such a good feeling because I felt it's something that could get away from us. Here we are many years later, and now it's upon us. Now, remember, AI to the consumer has only been through the floorboard in about a year, right? From November to November, a little over a year. But the bottom line is that it has changed the world, right? So this is computing on steroids, artificial intelligence. So now what does that do? Well, first of all, artificial intelligence, it's not so intelligent. But yet, because the word artificial intelligence, it kind of lends itself to being the smart guy on the block, right? Mm-hmm. So we really have to be very cautious in how we approach AI. And with that, all these email phishing, graphics, what you see, what you hear, what you get in your email, is all the stuff's going to be on steroids. So how do you deal with that? You have to ramp up your game. You have to ramp up your security game, and because if you don't, you're going to be left in the dust, basically, and that's not a good thing. So AI is on the horizon, and you definitely have to be watchful.
Yeah, I think that's something that really scares me, and that's why it's so important to have access to someone who's really an expert in the field. So, Joe, this has been an amazing conversation. Thank you so much for coming on board and for sharing information with us today. Now, if someone's looking for you, where do they find information about you, learning more about what you do?
Well, you can reach me on LinkedIn. It's a good platform. Or you can go to the website, and that is Cino, Cino, security.com. That's probably the best way, but I'm available, and my name's out there. You can reach me. My mobile's out there, so we're always available.
Thank you so much, Joe. It's great to have you on the show again. Thank you so much for being on today.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
We really learned a lot today, so I want to leave you with DB's philosophy. Managing risk is very different than managing strategy. Risk management focuses on the negative threats and failures rather than the opportunities and success. Robert S. Kaplan.
We want to thank you for being with us. My name is Ray Schwetz, along with Denise Boston Hill, your co-host and producers. Visit nccradio.org for more information. We're available on Odyssey, TuneIn, iHeartRadio as a podcast on iTunes, Android Podcasts, and Spreaker. This has been Tower Talk Business Radio on the voice of Nest Community College 90.3 WHPC.